In the town of Erfstadt, southwest of Cologne, the ground beneath them sank suddenly, collapsing homes and leaving behind what appears to be a giant sinkhole. As the clean-up operation begins, Germans are still in shock at the devastation that has unfolded before them.
It
was terrible not being able to help people. They were waving at us from the windows. Houses were collapsing to the left and right of them, and in the house between they were waving. We were lucky we survived.
Lives lost, livelihoods and homes destroyed. The flash floods came after days of heavy rainfall, in some places 2 months' worth in 2 days, turning streets into streams. So far, the death toll is estimated at 120 people, with fears it will rise. Ongoing rescue efforts have been made more difficult by disrupted roads and phone lines. The village of Schuld is one of the places worst affected. It's believed around half the homes here have been destroyed. Their ageing timber unable to withstand the surge of water as the river burst its banks. The floating debris and broken beams, a stark symbol of the shattered lives.
The water had enormous power. It blew the door open and threw me onto the stove. That's how much pressure it had, filling the house.
This resident and his grandchild managed to escape from the home he built himself in 1970. The damage is extensive, but at least his house is still standing, while his neighbours weren't so fortunate. He believes he can rebuild. For now, he's reflecting on their lucky escape.
I had to go down with the child. We went out of the back window, over a roof, over another roof, and then they took us out the back with the wheel loader.
As next door Belgium also contended with the chaos from flooding, political leaders have been clear about the role of climate change.
It is the intensity and the length of these events where science tells us this is a clear indication of climate change, and that this is something where we really, it shows the urgency to act.
But they're under pressure to act faster.
Are European countries prepared for these kinds of extreme weather patterns, including floods? Is the UK prepared?
I think we're definitely not well enough prepared. We need to take it much more seriously. There have been many things going on recently to make some really strong moves towards being prepared. But, we saw flooding, surface water flooding in London, a few days ago, where people's basements were suddenly flooded with sewage, really heavy rainfalls.
Right now, many need immediate financial support, like this grocer in Verviers.
This shop has been open for 3 years. We had to live through COVID. We were hoping we'd get back on our feet. And there you go.
But beyond repairing and rebuilding after this current disaster, a reminder more of us will be facing extreme weather more often. And if political leaders are unprepared, these devastating scenes will be much more common.
Well, earlier I spoke to the journalist Julia Saudelli, who's in the Rhineland-Palatinate region, and I began by asking her for her latest update.
People have come here to try to help and clean the town out from all the debris. There's trees strewn all over the streets, cars toppled over, and a lot of mud everywhere. So they've brought in tractors and excavators and a lot of hands to try and clean everything out. There's a lot of determination to try to bring things as close to normal as possible, even though people here don't have water, don't have electricity. So it is still quite a difficult situation.
And of course, the death toll has risen as the day has gone on, with hundreds still missing.
Yes, we've seen authorities say that a lot of people are still missing. Some they have said they have had difficulty reaching because the internet and phone connection is so bad here in the area at the moment. But authorities have also said that they expect the death toll to keep rising in the next days and hours. Efforts are still ongoing to try to find people that have in some towns been covered under the rubble because some houses have collapsed, and they are still looking for possible missing people or dead people at the moment.
For the authorities, really, climate scientists are saying that they had predicted something like this and not enough had been done to prevent it. Are you hearing that at the moment?
I am hearing that from some people who do think that more should have been done before. I spoke to a volunteer who came here to try and help and clean the town, and he lives further north in the region, and he has a farm with horses, and he said he was expecting this to happen, and he took measures to prevent more damage from occurring to his property. He said authorities should have done that here too. So yes, there is criticism being levied against the authorities here for not acting early enough.
Giulia Saudelli, thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thanks.
Well, I also spoke to Jutta Paulus, who's a German MEP for the Green Party. I began by asking her about the situation.
A lot of villages are more or less completely destroyed. They are finding corpses in the basements where they pump out the water. Our motorways are collapsing, and the situation is evolving constantly, even though it has, thank God, stopped raining.
And this is devastating, isn't it, for Germany and the other countries affected?
Yes.
No doubt about it.
And so many victims, it's really terrible.
And of course, first and foremost, this is, in these moments, about the rescue operation, trying to make sure they get people out, and then about rebuilding, yes?
When it comes to rebuilding, some of the devastating effects we have seen would have happened anyway, so to speak, but some of the effects could have been mitigated if we had taken the warning of climate scientists seriously, giving rivers more space, not sealing so many areas close to rivers or elsewhere in our cities. If we had been better prepared, if we had more emergency procedures in place.
The German president is today calling for more decisive action on climate change. Do you feel that many Germans will feel this is rather late in the day?
Actually, I hope so, because up to now, not all citizens were equally convinced that we have to act quickly and that we have to change infrastructure, that we have to build a lot of wind turbines, a lot of solar parks, that we have to maybe introduce a speed limit on our motorways, which was much debated in the last years. And I think these debates will have changed after what we have seen.
The Greens have made it their life's work to try to convince governments around the world that climate change should be a priority. Is it your view that people haven't been listening, or do you regret that perhaps you haven't got the message across properly?
Of course, we are looking to ourselves saying, where did we go wrong? What did we do wrong so that people did not believe us, so that people were not convinced? Which line of communication should we have chosen in order to bring a larger part of society to support our calls? I mean, it sounds funny, but actually I would be happy if people in other political parties would be making the same calls.
And that perhaps this dreadful situation you're in now might change things.
I hope so. I really hope so. But right now, my thoughts are really with the people who lost their loved ones, who lost their houses, who lost all they have been working all their life for, and whose villages will never look the same again.
Jutta Paulus, thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you very much, and all the best to you.